Hello, I'm Dr. Anna Symonds. I'm a consultant clinical psychologist and director of Elysian Psychology. I'm going to talk to you today about adapting to change. As I speak to you, it's mid-June and lots of people are beginning to think about how life might look over the next couple of weeks. And lots of people clinically and personally are saying to me that they're anxious or reluctant for life to go back to how it was. And I wanted to talk to you about how we adapt to change and how we help ourselves to overcome some of the anxieties that might have built up during the time over lockdown and where life has been significantly different. So firstly, I think it's about remembering that none of us wanted the change in the first place, and a lot of changes sometimes come about in our lives and they wouldn't be something that we choose. However, if you're not keen on the idea of things going back to how they were, it's probably because those changes have been positive for you. So remember that even when we don't want change, sometimes it can work out okay and we can adapt. You have adapted to the changes. You haven't had any choice, so you have. And I want you to think about what is it about your life now or about the changes that were imposed on you that have made your life feel better. If you're feeling better, or the house feels less stressful, or you're feeling calmer or happier, what is it? What is it that's happened? What are the changes that have made you feel that way? So it might be that you're travelling less, or it might be that you're at home more, it might be that you're actually enjoying not having the pressure of socialising or rushing around taking your children to different social events every month. Whatever it might be, I want you to think about what it is that's making you feel better and how you're going to maintain those changes as much as you can when they start to come back in. It's a very gradual reintroduction to the world, and so you can know that you can take your time, this will be a slow process, so it's important that you feel you can control some of the things that are happening within it. So when we feel out of control of a situation, like a change, and pressure's put upon us, we can't control that so much, but what we can control is our own response to it. So if you're feeling anxious, for example, I'll give you some tips on how to manage that. If you're working therapeutically with me, I'd probably draw a ladder. And we'd put a 10 at the top and a 0 at the bottom, and all the numbers in between, and I'd be talking to you about what makes you feel most anxious. So people I've talked to this week, it's things like, going out probably to a supermarket if they've not been out. It's kind of the thought of for people going back to school. For some people it's getting back in the office. For some people it's having social interactions, and some social anxiety has kind of crept upon them when they've not experienced that before. So writing down all the things from the hardest down to the easiest things that you can do and working your way through them. So starting with the thing at the bottom and working your way up, knowing that something that is a 10 at the moment won't be a 10. It'll shift down by the time you get to it. Everything kind of comes down the numbers as you kind of review and you go, oh, that's not a 4 anymore, that's a 2. So everything shifts down. And then having some faith in yourself that you can manage change. A lot of anxiety is about anticipation. So for a lot of people, the thought of lockdown was worse than lockdown actually has been. The thought of going back to normal life might be worse than it actually is going to be. So a massive part of anxiety is anticipation. It's the brain trying to protect us from that threat that's something we perceive not to be good. So reminding yourself that you can do things, reminding yourself that the first time you do anything that's going to feel a bit new or different, it's going to feel scary, but it will get easier and easier the more that you do it, and until you get to a point where you probably don't even notice that you're doing it at all. You might notice that you've got some specific triggers. So is it the fear of say if you were fearful about going to the shops, is it because you're worried about getting coronavirus, or is it because you're worried about having to have a social chat with somebody, and you're thinking, I don't know how to do that, I've not done that for a while. So trying to work out specifically what you might be anxious about is really, really important. And knowing that you did those things before. You're probably not asking anything new of yourself, you've just had a rest from it. So working out exactly what you're worried about, reminding yourself that you've adjusted to change lots of times before, and it's a normal part of life, isn't it? We would all still be at nursery if we didn't grow and adapt and change and go with the flow of things. And let me tell you, you're really not the only one. If you're watching this thinking, I really don't want life to go back to normal, I think that's quite typical of what I'm hearing at the moment. So please work out the elements that are making it work for you at the moment. Try and plan, because again, that makes us feel in control and is our response to feeling out of control or things feel uncertain, and working out exactly what you can maintain or put into place that's going to help you. You will have time, life won't suddenly go back to normal anytime soon, so you've got time to be reevaluating things and making necessary changes as they come up. It might involve difficult conversations with your employer or whoever's involved in your life when you want to make these changes, but you always have to focus forward and think, okay, but if I say that and if I do that, how will I feel? You know, and I think it's all about, you know, it's unrealistic that we can be really happy all of the time, but if you're noticing that your mood is definitely improved or you're feeling better, then absolutely you need to be proactive in maintaining those changes. It's no good in 3 months kind of saying, oh, I wish I'd stuck with that, I still wish I was working from home. Okay, well, did you talk to your boss about maybe the possibility of doing a couple of days at home, you know, for example? For some of you watching this, you might be desperate for life to go back to similar to how it was before, and good, I'm glad for you that you are. Again, be ready for a slow kind of approach. Try not to get too frustrated if you're thinking, I really just want things to go and children to go back to school and get back to work and things. It's going to be a slow process, but you will get there. So feel reassured about that. And I think we've learned a lot over this time, and part of that is going with the flow of things. You know, for those of us that like to control things, we haven't been able to do that quite so much. For those of us that are more relaxed about things, it's probably been slightly easier. So maybe we've all learned something within this process. I hope you have. And I hope you found that helpful. Remember, change is hard, but it doesn't mean that it's not right. And it doesn't mean that it's something that you can't do either. Just because you have an immediate response or feeling towards change doesn't mean that it's not right. Don't take that as an indicator always. It just means you maybe have a few hurdles to jump until it feels okay. But you'll get there. I'll see you soon.